Hey team, this is a quick video on effects on your desk. My main thing to say with effects is effects are a little bit like icing on a cake. So you might have a real crappy cake that tastes pretty darn horrible. Adding some icing does not make that cake taste any better. So in the same way with your sound, if you've got a rubbish mix or just things are not sounding great, adding effects is only going to make it worse, especially because effects amplify a lot of that stuff. So only add on effects if you kind of have got your body of your mix sort of nailed. So once you're happy with all of that, then you can start playing with your effects. So I'll quickly walk you through. It can be a bit more complicated, so you might need to watch this a few times and then come and have a play to understand it. So this aux in USB is where our effects volumes currently live. So you'll notice, so I've got a reverb, another reverb, so that's your instrument reverb, your vocal reverb, and your stereo delay for your vocals. By default, there's a stereo chorus. I've not set that up. Obviously, I wouldn't bother putting that on anything. So these are your volume controls from them. So they just sit at 0, and you should be able to leave them at 0. If you are finding that something is a little bit more overwhelming, we've got a number of ways of turning that down, but I'll come back to that in a second. So over here, we move to our bus. So bus 1 to 8 are your wedges and your in-ears, more room for in-ears. Then we move on to our effects. So to see what's being sent to that effect, in the same way you do with mixing your in-ears, select the channel. So this is the instrument reverb. So if I hit that button, if I hit fader flip, we'll see the faders move up. So this is everything that is currently being fed into that instrument reverb. So by default, you've got a little bit of the Cajon overhead mics and then a little bit of the guitars. Just takes a little bit of the edge off by adding some reverb. So they go into there. Your Vox reverb should just be the 4 vocal channels. Again, I've put these two higher up than these two because normally you want to obviously go more effects on your main lead vocalists than if you were to have loads and loads of BVs. Obviously this is where once you really know what you're doing, you can obviously change this, because if you've got a lead vocalist on 4, then you might want to obviously flip them around or whatever. And then the Vox delay set up in the same way. You'll notice they're a little bit more mixed down, and they're more mixed down on here as well, which again I will come back to. So once you're happy of what is going into the effects, we can now turn our effects up and down. So this is a master control. So at the moment, we're not sending any effects out of the speakers for our vocals. Our instruments aren't controlled by here. Our instrument effects are controlled either by this volume. So if I turn that off, they are now not coming out. That is mainly because you would typically always have it on. I said to you there's 2 places to mix the volumes from, there, and if we go back to our aux ins, I could turn it down here. So if we decided, oh, do you know what, the delay is too overbearing compared to the reverb, I could turn that down here. But what I'm saying is, it's better to leave that here because you can do it here. So this page we don't typically ever need to go to. So we could do that here. You might have a moment where you want to emphasize the delay, so you might want to bring the reverb down. So again, it's just like mixing the sound. You might need to mix these around a bit. Typically, we would normally kind of always have our reverb up a bit higher anyway, and keeping our delay down. So yes, turn that up. We've now got a bit more reverb, which just softens the voice in the room. Add a little bit of delay. Now, the last thing to tell you about the effects on here, the delay is set by button 7. So you can see button 7 is flashing. So if I tap that, it will flash quicker. If I tap it slowly, it will flash slower. So that is how much, that is the speed of the delay. So you have to tap that in time with the song that is being sung. So if it's a really slow song, which might be going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, then that's how the delay would work. So if they said the word and, it would go and. If you tap it quicker, so much quicker song, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and they say the word and, it's going to go and. So you must make sure you tap that, because otherwise if they're singing a slow song and you've got a really quick delay, it's going to sound horrible, or vice versa. So that is your effects.